cash balance collected type situation, or how do you determine, are you looking at our bank balances, or are you
Yes.
looking at your, okay,
We have a daily
Okay.
valuation of our general fund
Right.
balance for the gas division. So somewhat of it's a projection. We don't wait necessarily for it to go negative. We see that it's headed that way, and we'll go ahead and draw
Okay.
to avert going negative.
all right,
Right. And one thing we noticed last year, the first time they've done this, the banks that bid, as opposed to bidding a rate that applies to any balance you draw, they're bidding also a rate called a capacity rate. Because they're setting aside those funds in
Right.
the event that we draw down on them,
yeah,
which makes sense that they would charge us for that. So the bid that won last year had 14 basis points for that.
okay,
Okay. On commitment appropriations, it is different from budget appropriations. Commitment appropriations basically allow us to enter such contracts and obligations in the upcoming fiscal year that commit KUB to expenditures beyond the fiscal year. In accordance with the charter, we have to have an appropriation from the board that covers not only cash that goes out the door during a certain period of time, but a commitment for cash to go out the door. So the budget appropriations that you'll approve in a few minutes is cash out the door July 1st, 16 to June 30, 17. But during the upcoming fiscal year, we're going to enter into contracts. An example is the Kauai Combined Heat and Power project we've talked about. We'll enter into a contract that for during FY17 that has expenditures in FY17, but it's committing us to expenditures beyond FY17. And we have to have an appropriation that covers that as well. Thus, what we term historically as commitment appropriations. And we work with all the departments across the company to see what contracts they have they're going to be entering into, and we tally those amounts. And you can see 54.8 million is what we're requesting. You see it by division. 30 million is the largest for wastewater. And commissioners, this chart just basically mentions the Kauai Combined Heat and Power one, but there's a host of other projects that make up that 54.8 million. A lot of them are main replacement projects. Some of it's our upgrades to our electric transmission 69 kV line upgrades that we talked about last month and some people. Yes, sir.
Do we actually have to set aside funding for
No.
that, or is it just authorization?
Just authorization. And that concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions, other questions you might have.
Okay, if not, we're gonna, I think Mark's gonna put up what resolution that we're voting on. I wanna request a motion and a second to resolution 1342 on the first and final reading.
Move it with resolution 1342.
Have a second?
second,
Is there anyone want to speak on this one? If not, Mr. Coley, could you please call roll?
Commissioner Askew,
Aye.
Commissioner Hamilton,
aye,
Commissioner Herbert,
aye,
Commissioner Pennell,
aye,
Commissioner Thompson,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams, Commissioner Worden.
Aye.
Resolution 1342 regarding issuance of bond funding and passed.
Okay, we're gonna move on to resolution 1343 on first and final reading. Can I have a motion and a second?
Move.
Is there anyone else to speak on that? I don't think we have any visitors, so probably not. Mr. Coley, could you please call roll?
Commissioner Askew,
Aye.
Commissioner Hamilton,
aye,
Commissioner Herbert,
aye,
Commissioner Pennell,
aye,
Commissioner Thompson,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams,
Aye.
Commissioner Worden.
Aye.
Resolution 1343 has passed.
We're gonna move to 1344, request a motion and a second on first and final reading of resolution 1344.
so moved,
Second.
Any comments? Mr. Coley, could you please call roll?
Commissioner Askew,
Aye.
Commissioner Hamilton,
aye,
Commissioner Herbert,
aye,
Commissioner Pennell,
aye,
Commissioner Thompson,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams,
Aye.
Commissioner Worden.
Aye.
Resolution 1344 is passed unanimously.
We're gonna move to resolution 1345. Can I have a motion and a second on first and final reading?
move for approval,
Second.
Mr. Coley, if there's no public comments, could we have, Mr. Coley call roll?
Commissioner Askew,
Aye.
Commissioner Hamilton,
aye,
Commissioner Herbert,
aye,
Commissioner Pennell,
aye,
Commissioner Thompson,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Warden.
Aye.
Resolution 1345 has passed. Yes.
Now that I'm completely exhausted.
Now, aren't you glad you didn't go to quiz on that and you had a cheat sheet?
I am. We're gonna go into the president's report. Samantha?
Commissioners, as you know, we have a lot of construction projects going on, and I want you to know that we constantly are focused on the actual construction that's going on and making sure it's appropriate, but also its impacts on our community, not only the people who live nearby, but the traveling communities. We have two presentations today, again, tag team, Mike Boland from construction and Paul Randolph from gas engineering. Both of these presentations are going to emphasize to you the steps that we take to the extent we can to accommodate our customers. And let me say in introduction of this, and particularly Paul, just to warn you, we have the final phase of the North Shore gas project, so Paul's going to address that. So remember I said we're sensitive to customers' impact.
And remember, she said Paul one time. Okay, so let's start with that. I appreciate you having me here today to talk about this. I mean, KUB is just to serve our customers, but in order to provide utility service, we've got to do construction, and construction can be disruptive to our customers. We recognize that. So we're always challenged to balance the needs for the construction with this disruption it can have on our customers. And some of the things that clearly construction can do can cause traffic issues. It can potentially cause an outage at your house while we repair something or replace something, a service disruption. It can disrupt businesses, whether they have to take the service out of service or even just block their driveway or access to their business while the work's being occurring. Clearly, construction is not something that's done very silently. There's noise associated with construction. And the one thing we typically try to avoid for sure is a surprise public. So what do we do to kind of address some of these disruptions? The first and foremost thing we try to do is we do a best faith effort to try to make sure our customers are aware of activities that might impact them, the notice aspect to it. The notices could take the form of written correspondence that we send out. I think maybe y'all are copied on some of the letters we send out. We send out just tons of letters to customers to let them know of activities we're having or we're doing that might impact them or their lives. We have traffic plans associated with the need to reroute traffic around necessary construction. We work very hard to personalize a lot of the information we provide. If we're sending out letters, we try to make sure we're not surprising them, so we tell them what we're going to do, when we're going to be doing it, how long it's going to last, and we typically will also provide a contact name and number for them to call if they have an issue. If it's a project just involved 1 or 2, 3 customers, we might make individual phone calls to those customers, try to schedule the work for them, make sure we're doing it appropriately with them. If it's a very large customer or a business customer, we might go visit with them to make sure that when we're doing our work, it's consistent with their ability to withstand us working around them, I guess. In addition to those things, I've shown on the right here a form that we use to kind of look at a whole host of factors that our work may impact the customer. Whether it's, are we going to be on their property or just in the right of way? Are we going to be having to close the lane of the road or not? Are we going to have to be digging on their property? Are we going to be having to remove any vegetation, any trees or any shrubs? If they planted a bunch of shrubs around a pad mount transformer, we're going to have to remove those to access the transformer. There's a whole host of questions. There's questions about, are you going to be in a vicinity of a community event? For example, are you going to be trying to work during Boone's Day? Are you going to be trying to work downtown any given Saturday almost anymore? We try to be as broad and as high level of look of all the kind of disruptions we could have as we plan our work, try to work around the best timing on our projects. So The other three things, which I'm going to go into a little more detail about and provide some pictures, is we will tend to try to schedule our work with the community's needs in mind, or the individual customer's needs in mind, so that we can get the most appropriate time that works for everybody concerned. So the scheduled work is a big factor that we do. Weekend work, any more, particularly revolve around traffic, we do an awful lot of work on the weekends. That's the best time for the community in many, many cases, and I'll show some examples here where we come in and actually do our work on weekends as opposed to just doing the regular work week. And then from time to time, and it's not necessarily the best of things to do, but we do a lot of night work as well in certain circumstances. And again, I'll provide some examples of that. So let me move right into those. This first picture here is on, you can see on the left there, that's a picture of a network electric underground crew. They're working right here on Gay Street, right beside the Tennessee Theater you see there. On the right, the picture is the folks that are actually doing the work, which are down in the hole. Yes, right there's the manhole. They're down the manhole. They're coming in on a Sunday morning. This is early on a Sunday morning. There's actually two crews, there's one a couple blocks away, and they're pulling some cable under the roads. There's a whole network, all this whole downtown area's got a network of vaults and conduits running through here. And the best time for these crews oftentimes to do the work, particularly this job, it was a 16-hour job, is to coordinate it and do it outside of Biscuitville and the other events that happen downtown. And if I go back not too many years ago, if you were working in downtown at 5:05 p.m. on a Monday, nobody cared. You know, we can't do that anymore. We have to coordinate things. In this particular case, we have to coordinate with Tennessee Theater, you know, or they don't have any events going on there if we're in that location. So we're always looking to try to make sure we're as least disruptive as we can. This next picture, a little dark, but I took it, so I'll blame myself. Let me set the stage here. Yes, ma'am.
The picture you showed before downtown, is it also safer for the workers to be working where there's not, you know, is there a reverse
in many
effect
cases,
for you that it's safe, that gives you a safer environment as well?
Not necessarily downtown so much, but there's some other pictures that I'll point that very fact out, that it is safer. Let me set the stage for this next picture. West Town Mall. There's a road that runs on one side of West Town Mall, goes underneath the interstate into West Hills, Van Osdale. There's West Hills Elementary School right on the other side of the interstate. This is that road. You know, you're a block away from West Town Mall. There's a development, a new development right across the street, right across the road here. They're going to put 5 or 6 houses in right there. We can't work around West Hills Elementary School during the week. You know, we just can't do that and not have a significant impact to everybody. So this is it early on a Saturday morning. We're coming in, we're going to put a water line, a gas line across this road to this new development. So we have to come in and do our work there. We send out notices associated with that to all the parties involved. We have the traffic control plan. We're actually rerouting one piece of this around and the other lane actually being flagged through the construction here. This is the crew that came in and did that particular job. If I'm up here, I like to talk about crews coming in on Saturdays and weekends and nights. So this crew came in here on a Saturday, did this work to make sure the community wasn't any more impacted than they had to be associated with the work. So it's a whole question of balance. We got to get the work done. Some people are never going to be happy with what we're doing, but we're trying our best to do that in a way that's as least disruptive as we can. This picture here, this is on Tennessee Avenue. We have a large customer, Gerdau and Marysville. They make rebar. They're over in the Lonsdale area, if you happen to know where they're at. But in any event, Gerdau and Marysville is a very large industrial customer. Similar to our water plant, a lot of our larger industrial customers, they just run all the time. I mean, there's people working there all the time. And if KUB is needing to have them out of service, or needing to do some work around them that's going to affect them, we have to schedule it with them. In this case, Gerdau gave us 8 hours. They said, okay, Thursday at this time, I'll give you 8 hours. We can be out. And we coordinated that with them. Well, we had a lot of work to do. And we needed to do it in 8 hours, so we scheduled, I think we scheduled 9 crews in here to do all the work at one time, so that while we had the opportunity, we just flooded it with workers. And actually, I got enough pictures here. We had crews working even over the crest of the hill. There were crews working all the way up and down the road there. So the idea is to work with the customers, do our work when it fits their schedules. We do a lot of that, not just for industrial customers, but even for residential customers. Even residential customers, wasn't that long ago, we were rolling in to do some work, some scheduled work on a customer. They came out and said, hey, it's almost Easter. I've got all my family coming in here for Easter, just like on a Thursday. Could you wait till Monday to start the work? It's common for us to get those sort of questions, you know. Hey, I know you need to do the work, but can you do it tomorrow? Can you do it? And we do that. And it's not only us, really, the contractors that we have working for us that work with us routinely and long-term, they have learned what our expectations are for dealing with our customers, and they mimic that. You know, it wasn't that long ago, well, I guess this is 2 weeks ago now, there was a lot of work going on downtown as normal, seems like here lately. And the UT students, some of them said, well, you know what, we got finals going on, we got all this noise out here, you know, can we, you know, maybe next week, you know, when we don't have the finals going on. So there was some accommodation made for those. I mean, there are accommodations made as people make, raise hands and things that we might have missed as part of our scoping of the project, thinking about things on the front end that went on. I didn't have good crew pictures on this one because there are too many people. The only picture I could find was this one here. And again, I just like to show the crews associated with work out there to give them a moment in the sun here. So anyway, very common for us to do work at the customer's schedule. Very, very common. This picture here is a picture of night work. Let me set the stage in this picture. This is on Chapman Highway. This is on Chapman Highway close to John Sevier, right across from Lowe's. Is it Lowe's or Home Depot? Right across from the Home Depot there on Chapman Highway. We've been on a project there for almost 6 months. We're replacing this big pole right here. This big pole right here is a transmission pole. They talk about a 69 kV pole. That's a 69 kV pole. We're replacing those poles, 46 poles right down Chapman Highway, right through this area here. And you see in the background here is a Pizza Hut. And there's 2 issues working on Chapman Highway or Kingston Microson and some other road like that, in that TDOT will only allow us to be on the road working, obstructing a lane from 9 to 3. Okay, on weekdays. So we can only, productive work is only from 9 to 3 on weekdays. So that's an issue, number one. Number two, this area down through here has got a lot of businesses. In the case of this business, Pizza Hut here, we have to work with Pizza Hut to say, you know, we won't have to get in your parking lot to do this work. We got to figure out when we can do that. When we can meet TDOT's work and make everybody happy. So in this particular case, this job started at 11 o'clock on a Sunday evening in order to get everybody happy with when we're going to be doing work. Started 11 o'clock on Sunday evening, and we were done by 6 a.m. the next morning. That met everybody's schedule. And by the way, I think it's a great picture. I didn't take this one, you know, you can tell because this was not too bad. But I like this picture because it's got these lights coming up from all the floodlights from the trucks kind of illuminating. And of course, if you work for a hospital, that's pretty interesting too. So in any event, here's a crew associated with that job. They came in that night, early on Sunday, or late on Sunday night, depending on how you want to look at it, and did that work. The next job here, and I'll skip the working part so much on this, just tell a little story. If you go down Alcoa Highway right now, Alcoa Highway is starting to get a lot of construction. The TDOT project started. In fact, it's pretty dramatic right now if you've been down there here lately. But actually that construction, we've known and have been involved in that construction for some time now. Even before you even knew the project was going on, KUB was out there moving power lines and power poles in advance of the construction. Number one, so the construction could occur, and number two, so that we're out there and not blamed with any issues that may occur there. This crew here is the crew that's been doing a lot of that work, And that particular crew, this was on a Saturday morning, they were out there working on a Saturday. Again, it wasn't necessarily scheduled around customers' schedule or anything else. Really, it was for us to get out of there, get in and get out of there, ahead of all the other stuff that's going to occur down Alcoa Highway. We don't want to be associated with something like that. We don't want to be a holdup for that. So in some cases, we'll be working on weekends for those particular reasons right there. This crew is a gas crew on the left right here. There's an excavation here. Again, I didn't show the work in this particular picture, but they happen to be in a parking lot of a softball field. It's over there close to Caswell Park, if you know what Caswell Park is. We worked with the city. We picked a time in which there was actually a gate across the softball field here. It was closed. So we went in there, this was on Saturday morning, went in there and were able to do the work in coordination with the city on a weekend when it worked for everybody and didn't affect anybody. The last job here is a lead-in also to Paul's presentation. But this is a gas crew. In the background here, and set the stage, this is Lakeshore Park. In the background, this is the road they're staying on right here, is Westland Drive. North Shore's behind them. So this is at the intersection of North Shore and Westland Drive. We came in early on a Saturday morning to do a little gas work to set up the project Paul's fixing to talk about here. When I visited the crew this morning, there's a creek, there's a bridge right there. Anybody that's familiar with that? They actually saw a river otter there, and they had some video they took of the river otter. They were showing it to me, but they came in early on a Saturday morning to do this job before folks got going everywhere, so they didn't disturb anybody. They talked to the adjacent property owner here, saying, hey, we're going to be coming in here, we're going to be doing this work. They were out of there before noon, as disruptive as we could be. So we're always looking to adjust our schedules, to adjust our work, to accommodate customers, to accommodate events, to accommodate the general public, and then also inform the general public about what we're doing. We're trying to be as best as we can about letting people know, have no surprises, and to be as less disruptive as we can, because the customers are the ones that pay us. If we can't do it for them, we shouldn't be in the business we're in. So with that, this introduction to Paul and the North Shore project, y'all asking a lot of questions.
Thank you. That's like a lot of questions. I don't suspect I'll get too many questions within an hour. I've got a few minutes, but I do want to talk about where Mike has left off here. I noticed that on his introduction slide, it said customer-sensitive construction. That's what he's really talked about. I'd also like to say that a lot of that he's talking about and what he showed you was our workforce out there, and part of the workforce planning initiative, which we put in place just a couple of years ago, and some hires we made a lot of that possible. We now have a lot of in-house work crews to accomplish work, and some of those folks are actually over here. And some things I've got to say have to do with, not only what the gas construction has done and the crew that you saw there worked on that site. We've got overhead doing a bang-up job. Alcoa Highway is certainly a very key project for that. Procurement's involved in that customer. We have customer care people here. We've got our operations into the business over here as well. And of course, safety and tech services is always engaged with our crews and our contract crews. So let's just start off by saying that South and North Shore, the red line you see here, phase 1 and 2 is a combination gas water job, and it did not go to our expectations, and it didn't go well to the expectations of the customers as well. And we recognize that. That was a 2+ mile long job. It was a combination of gas job and a water job, like many of our Central 2 projects are. The job that is coming up next is up here on this section. I've got a little blow up I'll show you here in just a second. This is a gas only, and only qualified gas contractors, qualified already, pre-qualified with KUB, can bid on that job. I also have a slide that just to tell you that bid is actually due to be turned in tomorrow, so we'll know more about it tomorrow in the first of the week. There's been a lot of activity out here in the past. I think we're tying up here on this gas job to a job that was done in 2011. You'll recall on Lions View, certainly just east of this in 2013, I think we were there on that job, impacting the community. There was actually a gas job right here at this intersection in 2014, or 2012, I mean. And then, of course, we just finished up this North Shore job on the lower side through 2014 and 2015. So I would say we pretty consistently have engaged the communication of the community out here and the traffic since 2011 pretty often. So we've been in the area working. again, driven by different needs. I think the one out here that came down North Shore from Aaron Drive, that was kind of a tag-along gas job with a consent decree sewer job. Combination job on Lines View with water, gas, and sewer, and then water and gas on North Shore. So we're going to tie it all together with this job, and that's a gas-only job. This is part of our Century 2 cast iron replacement work, so we're kind of bundling up all this work at the end. Highlighting the Phase 3 aspect of this work, we have, running, as Mike said, here from Westland up to Aaron Drive and make that tie up. What I want to point out is we are trying to separate, and have done so effectively on this job, some of the work that we do very well in-house, some of the smaller diameter work, more customer-sensitive work. So we took the job over here and eliminated this bridge crossing, and we did that with our own resources on early Saturday morning. We've got another job that's going to run up this little alleyway right here. We're going to run that with Mike's underground construction crews will do that work, and that work really eliminates some long side services that now serve this area today. So we'll be removing that away from the contractor bid job, which is out today, and let them focus on the things they do well. They do big pipe boring or horizontal directional drilling. They do that well. They excavate along the roadways on long stretches. They do that job very well. They're equipped to do that. So we're trying to focus on what they do well. We'll focus on what we do well. We'll bundle that together, understand the project, understand the impact on the community. We've got some communication we'll start next week as we identify these routes, and that's another option as part of our project planning. We're putting some different route options down here on this northern end of the project to try to optimize the pricing and the flexibility of the contractors and kind of play to their strengths. And hopefully that has a positive impact on not only the bid price themselves, but the effectiveness those crews will do when they work this job. Now, these two routes have different benefits or different drawbacks. Route A, which is split back here again, Route A being that'd be the western project. The dash line is the Route B. Route A would be trenchless construction. We would set up on that side, it'd be horizontal directional drilling, but it would require an additional crossing of South North Shore, so there's a potential impact there with traffic and certainly project costs, etc. And it would require us to excavate and do some restoration there with the landscape at Sacred Heart School. Now, Route B, we would be able to do some horizontal drilling to get under the creek, just like we do on the other route, but it would require some open cutting because if you ever been out that way, there's a little bit of a rock face there. It would push us out closer to the traffic. We would be required to close one lane of traffic going northbound, but you recognize there is a center lane there, and we're going to propose to do that work while school is out during the summer. So we would utilize that center lane to maintain 2 lanes of traffic north and 2 lanes of traffic south at all times. All of the work in our work plan, these are kind of the goals, part of our cast iron replacement program. It ties us together with that project we finished up on the north in 2011. We're minimizing the traffic impact on not just the local community, but the larger community. And we're going to complete all this work in front of the school during school break, so there's no impact on the school. And the school has somewhat of a shortened summer break this time because they had their own construction last fall, so they delayed their school year, so they don't really get out till June the 7th, I believe it is. Matter of fact, I've got that on the schedule right here. So this is the plan so far. Bids will be open tomorrow. Construction start in early June. The school is out, and we'll complete that work in front of the school before they go back into service, I think on August the 11th, 10th or 11th. And we'll be through this project no later than December the 30th, but I anticipate that would be much sooner than that. I tried to go through it quickly, I'm sorry if it was too fast, but.
No, I was just commenting that I'm gonna have to deal with this every day.
Well, we did take into consideration the traffic situation, the work. I'll flip back here. There should be no impact down here with traffic. This will be a horizontal directionally drilled crossing. There'll be no open cut. The crew would set up over here and drill over and make that tie. We eliminated this crossing right here completely. There'll be no new crossing to be made there, so that was intended to relieve any kind of traffic controls and also slow the project down or impact the customers. This crossing right here is another drilling operation. It'll go underneath not only the road, but the creek itself and pop out on the press well. We've eliminated the need to do additional bores over here by proposing to run this line down the alleyway. There are no, if the line is on this side of the road, there's an existing service be tied up, but the service over here is already a polyethylene service, so we do not anticipate a need to bring that across. And these will, both routes, the crossing of the creek there, Fourth Creek would be by drilling, so not open cut through.
Let me just bottom line it from a traffic perspective. We don't envision, if everything goes according to plan, either option requiring a lane closure. If the dotted line is the one we choose, then there will be a shifting of lanes into the turn lane for about 3 weeks while that work is being done, and then it shifts back. But there would still be 2 lanes open, so we'd have a little shift and a little shift, but traffic can keep going. To us, that's about the best we can do. We can only do that if we do it when school's out, because they use that turn lane to go into the school. So that's the reason it's timed with school.
What about the construction interfaces going on at Sacred Heart?
Yeah, it's all been coordinated.
Yeah.
This actually, and Ms. Rose is correct, the only driveway here is to the school. And we use a traffic control plan, and we'll use someone there. If there was a need for somebody to pull in there, we will have an individual there to make that available, to make the turn.
Question, you mentioned earlier that you were not pleased with phases 1 and 2. Kind of summarize.
Well, let Celeste or Kathy do it.
Road rage, is that?
Really, I'm more getting a call from me while I'm in my car in traffic.
Well, and I guess what you're finding, all that.
The answer there is this was a combination job. The contractor was well-versed in water work. They used a subcontractor for gas work. They went through a couple of subcontractors on gas work before they got there. It was complex in that they were dealing with all this stuff, the different services along the way. It was bid as a total package. KUB did not do any other work to accommodate the contractor's strength like we're doing on this job right here. So
This piece was also in that contract, and we and they agreed to pull it, and it got rebid, and it will be done by a different contract.
And I would say that I think it's difficult anytime you're doing this on a 2-lane road.
Yeah.
It went on for a long time, but I think really the time that people driving on that stretch were inconvenienced was if you happen to get behind somebody trying to transport material from one place to another place. It's 2 lanes, there's nothing else you can do, so, you know, I thought
it was a challenging job.
it was, and I